I needed a very small ice cream cone for a project that I'm working on. I also wanted to test out my new Cricut markers. Now these are the double-ended ones, which are very interesting because you have a 1mm nib on one end and you have a 0.4mm on the other. So this one is rather small and the other one is quite a bit bigger. And the other thing I like about it is that when you're using one end, the cap actually fits on the other cap, so you're less likely to lose or misplace the cap. It's a small detail, but it's something that comes in really handy when you're crafting. There's a few things that I notice about these markers that I feel like they were specifically designed for a clumsy crafter like me. So they have little bumps on their caps, so it makes it a little bit harder for them to roll off your crafting surface while you're busy crafting. The other thing I like about them is that the sizes are clearly marked on the pens themselves, so you can really see before you're opening it. So they also have the measurements on the tips. So if you're relying on the caps for the size, you have to make sure that the tips match up with the writing that's on the pen. And so I appreciate the fact that there are 20 different colors in 2 different sizes, and that makes them really portable too. The colors are clearly written on the pens themselves. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun playing with these. So I started with the narrow end of my pen, the 0.4, for the lines on my cone. And I use this color, so this is called Coffee. And I decided that this is a little bit too dark. For my second version, I opted for something a little bit lighter. So this is called Tawny, and I drew my lines with the thinner end. For the sprinkles on my ice cream, I used the 1mm end to create them, but when I created my sprinkles, I made them a little bit too wide. They needed to be narrow. So I experimented with these 2 pieces. So these are going to become the ice cream part of my cone, and I used the 1mm for both of these. I started with this one and used a bunch of darker colors. Then I tried changing up the colors a little bit with some of the brighter colors. Thankfully, I had 20 colors to choose from, so I finally found a combination that I liked. I'm going to go with the lighter colors for the sprinkles on my ice cream. I'm going to show you how I assemble my cone. I'm going to start with this piece that looks a little bit like a sun. I'm just folding down on that scored octagon on the center of my shape, and then I'm folding down on those side tabs on all 8 of my panels. The panel that you're left with after folding down the tab is slightly narrower at the bottom than it is at the top. So next I'm going to glue down the 8 decorative pieces that go on those panels. You want the narrowest part of the panel to be towards the center of the shape. I'm gluing it down, leaving an even border all around. And then I have the second part of my cone. I'm just folding down on the score lines for it. There are some very small tabs here. There's a tiny little tab at the end, and then there's all these little side tabs that are extremely small as well. I'm just folding down on that triangular piece and that little trapeze piece on all 8 of them. So next I have the decorative panels for this piece as well. I have the little rectangular ones that goes just beneath the trapezoid shape, and then I have the trapezoid shaped one, and it goes just beneath it. I'm trying to glue it on as straight as possible and between the score lines and the edge. And I'm going to do that for all 8 of them. All right, so now that my panels are decorated, I'm going to start shaping them. I'm going to start with my little piece that looks like a sun. So this is the bottom of my cone. I'm putting glue along one of the tabs, doesn't matter which one, from the score line to the end. And then I'm folding the adjacent side right up to the score line of the tab where I've just put glue. And I'm working my way around my shape, doing the exact same thing for all 8 tabs. So next I'm taking my long strip. On the section with the trapezoid shapes, there are little triangles in between. I'm starting on that second shape. I'm putting glue on that little triangle. I'm folding that top panel back towards me. I'm gluing the cut edge of the adjacent side right to the score line of my triangle. And I'm putting glue on that top, and I'm gluing it in as well. Then I'm moving to the next one. This time I'm going to put glue on the triangle and that little trapeze part. I'm folding that top part towards me, tucking my glued part underneath, and just gluing the cut edge of both pieces to the score line on both tabs. One of these shapes is angled inwards and the top is straight. So I'm just moving along that strip, gluing in all 8 sides the exact same way. So now that I've glued in all those panels, I'm closing my shape at those 3 tabs on one side. I'm putting glue on all 3 tabs, and I'm lining up the score lines between the tabs and just gluing everything in place. I've got the tabs at the top, and I've got those little tiny tabs at the bottom. I'm rotating my piece, putting glue on all of those tabs, and then I'm inserting my piece. I want the seams on these tabs to line up with the straight edges on my bottom. The cut edge of the bottom of my cone should be just up against the score line on those tiny tabs. So I'm just going in there and I'm exerting pressure until my glue takes. So now I have the tabs at the top. I'm putting glue on one of those tabs. So there's 2 octagons in the file. I'm taking the smaller one. I'm matching up that straight outer edge of my octagon to the score line on that upper tab. So the points should be matching up with the score lines on either side. Then I'm putting glue on the 7 remaining tabs. I'm folding my piece over and I'm going in there and pinching down the sides. So for this, I like to use my reverse tweezers. I just go in there and pinch the sides together on something this small. It's very handy. So that's my cone done, and now I'm going to work on my ice cream. My ice cream has a scored octagon in the center. I'm folding down on all the score lines to create that octagon. And then there are 8 sides. For each side, there are 2 horizontal score lines. And then on the side, there's 1 tiny little triangular shape, and then the tab above. I'm rotating my piece and folding down on all 8 sets of those score lines. So now that I've folded down on all those score lines, I'm putting glue on that triangular tab and then the tab above it. I'm gluing the tab above first, and then I'm going in there and pinching on that tiny little triangular piece. And I'm working my way around my shape, gluing in all sides the exact same way. Much like I did for the cone, I'm putting glue on one of the tabs, matching the straight edge of my octagon to that tab, and then I'm putting glue on the 7 remaining tabs, and then I'm folding that octagon down to meet up with the sides, pinching those sides between my reverse tweezers and gluing everything in place. So next I'm putting my ice cream down on my craft mat. I'm putting glue all around the perimeter of the top part of my cone, and then I'm doing my best to center my cone over the bottom of my ice cream. And then I'm just pressing down until my glue takes. And so that's how I made my mini ice cream cone using my new markers.